You know what? I gotta give respect to this franchise. We've reached the 10th installment and we have not gone to outer space yet. This franchise wants to stay on Earth. I respect that a lot. Let's not go to space.
Here's Johnny.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Expecto Patronum!
Saw X stars Tobin Bell and is about a sick and desperate John travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam. Well, here we are. It is Saw 10, the 10th movie in the Saw franchise. That is crazy. So on this channel, I've only reviewed the Jigsaw movie and Spiral. Both movies are meh. Spiral tried something different, but I've never really talked about the first 7 movies, which is one big overall story, which I respect the hell out of. But those movies are definitely a complicated matter, and if you ever watch all of them, you gotta watch all of them from beginning to end. Here we are with Saw 10, a prequel that's just set in between 1 and 2, so we get Tobin Bell back as John Kramer, which is the best thing possible for this franchise. And all I can say is, this truly, for a 10th movie in a franchise, argues to be the best one in the franchise. Tobin Bell as John Kramer is awesome in this movie. I don't think he's ever been better than in this movie. In every Saw movie that he's been in, he's always a side point. He's always the one explaining and talking through the traps and how the story goes. But he's always a side character. And obviously after the third one, everything after that has always been a sidekick, a twist over twist, and it gets a little complicated. This movie is Tobin Bell. This is John Kramer's story, and I respect the hell out of them changing the formula up. Not being a group of people in the traps and then a cop story. That is not in this movie. Traps are, but Tobin Bell's story of trying to cure his cancer is emotional, and they do a really good job on his character, and obviously him being Jigsaw, he does things, and his outlook is he's not a murderer. This movie plays on that, especially in the third act, which it definitely gets over the top, which it needs to because it's a Saw movie, but I love what they do with that, and I think overall, John Kramer's character is seriously the best he's ever been. Now, the director of this movie actually directed Saw 6 and the final chapter, which, to everyone's agreement, Saw the final chapter is honestly god-awful. It is the worst Saw movie. So for this movie, I was like, oh, but hey, he knows the franchise? Well, with a $13 million budget, the movie looks really good. It definitely has that 2000s feel. It has the different coloring of a Saw movie, the greens, the yellows, and it has that sparkling, shaky, quick edits, but it's not as dominant as it is in those early films. This one, it has it, but it's not like dominant, and it works. The movie's really well shot, it's well put together, and it just makes it feel like an old Saw movie, which I admire. I'm not like the biggest Saw fan, but I grew up with those movies. Those were movies that my mom and dad rented from Blockbuster, and I wasn't allowed to watch. So seeing this movie, it fits right into the franchise, but it looks better than most movies. Hell, how it starts off, you're like, this is very different from a Saw movie, and then once the thing gets going, and once traps start happening, then it's a Saw movie, and I will say, it does take a little bit to get to the traps, but I was fine with it, because we were getting good development with John Kramer and his character, and when the traps happen, it's bloody, it's gory, there's some practical blood, and I'm big thumbs up. My crowd was squirming, and this crowd was for sure Saw fans, because they were just clapping when Billy showed up, they were clapping when John Kramer, came upon them as the Saw traps were happening. It was a good crowd to see this with, and when that beautiful, iconic score hit, it was awesome to hear in a fresh new Saw movie. Like, this movie just felt like an original kind of Saw movie for the fans, and I think this movie could work for the new fans. I don't think it's gonna, like, win people over if you're not a Bloodhound fan, but, like, with Amanda coming back, it doesn't feel like you have to know who she is. If you're a fan, it's just a bonus, honestly. And through watching this movie, I think general audiences, if they went and saw Saw X, you could enjoy it. But this movie's not perfect, so let's get to the negatives, and I have one major negative. The absolute ending of this movie. The last 4 minutes feel a little anticlimactic. You hear the Saw score, and everyone in the theater was just happy to hear it, and it's awesome to hear in surround sound. But the actual ending to this particular story of Saw, it was a little anticlimactic. I gotta be honest. It didn't feel like it earned that big twist score moment. It didn't feel like it earned that big Saw moment. It was like the Saw song, it came on, it was awesome, there's reveals and everything, and then it just ends. I was like, oh, it didn't feel like it needed that. It needed a bigger impact with that song, and it was kind of an anticlimactic ending in my personal opinion. But that mid-credit scene, definitely for Saw fans, 2 big thumbs up for Saw fans. Everyone else might be like, I don't get it. But Saw fans, 2 big thumbs up. And the one big thing with this movie, without spoiling it, there is a trap in this movie. It's a really cool scene, but the thing is, it's a mirage. It's not real. It's a dream. It's not really dreaming, but it's a dream sequence. It's not really happening. And it was so disappointing. It felt like why would you do all that and then just yank us right? Like, why? That was so disappointing. And maybe a few dialogue moments was a little bad. Just a few lines of dialogue were bad. But overall, this movie was well made. Tobin Bell's character as Jigsaw has never been better. The story was interesting. It felt new, felt fresh. And when the Saw traps happen, blood, gore, you love to see it. In the end, this honestly might be the best Saw movie. I'm gonna give Saw X a B+. If you're a fan of the Saw movies, go and see it. If you want to dip your toe into it, go ahead. There are a few things you're gonna be like, who's that? What is this? What does this mean? Because the Amanda character, even though she's not like the main character, she gets a few character beats, and obviously if you know what happens to her in the franchise, you know, but this movie added a little bit to her character. Truly, this was a good movie. This was a good movie. Definitely a movie to go see this Halloween, for sure. And you guys enjoy this movie review, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody!